So take a look at this. This is a bit of a Hollywood scoop. And you know about Hollywood that if you don't stay in your lane, they're going to call you out. And this is just a big giant this exposes a lot. So this actor by the name of Bradley Whitford, who I don't really know who this guy is. Apparently he was on a show called The West Wing. I know about the show West Wing. I know it has Martin Sheen and who's the very tall lady? Allison Janney was on that show. It was, won many awards. It was apparently this, big drama in the 90s. I couldn't care less about it, but apparently this guy went after Cheryl Hines, the wife of RFK Jr., after RFK Jr. announced that he was supporting Trump, not the Democrats. And, like typical Hollywood fashion, if you're not part of the cult that's going to, give you a career climb and a business boost, then you got to slam the opponents. You got to slam the people that are not on your side. So Bradley Whitford slams Cheryl Hines for not speaking out after her lunatic husband, according to him, RFK Jr. endorsed Trump for president. Way to stay silent. Now, I don't know much about Cheryl Hines. I know that she's an actress. I know, seen her in Curb Your Enthusiasm. I hear a lot of nice things about her. I hear that she's very pleasant and very heartwarming and nurturing and very humble, which is you don't really see that in the Hollywood industry. You don't see that a lot from actors and actresses that they're very grounded and down to earth. You don't see that much. So maybe that's another thing that they hate about Cheryl Hines. I mostly know her from, and this is kind of sad, but I mostly know her not from Curb Your Enthusiasm, but a little movie she did with Robin Williams called RV. People may have heard of it. People may have seen it. I think it was like back 2005, 2006. I remember seeing her in that performance with Robin Williams, and I thought they were pretty good together. I thought they were a very convincing couple. Uh, more, I'd say more so than her and Larry David. Like that kind of says a lot. Um, but art forms are subjective, and people have different tastes in movies, so you can disagree with it if you want. But who is speaking out about this is Bill Maher. Now, Bill Maher, of course, he's a typical neoliberal establishment tool. There's a lot I could say about Bill Maher. Bill Maher is one of those people that we can do segments forever on the horribleness that this guy could tell you. He was right about COVID. He was starting to get right about COVID, and I give credit to that. But everything else was just steam piling, a bunch of useless BS, trivial, neoliberal garbage establishment ploy shit on top of people just to be a propagandist. And how, he went on to interview people like Robert De Niro, for example, and say that, well, if Trump wins, oh my God, I might not have a career anymore, which, for a fact, that was false. For a fact that was completely just a made up suggestion that he didn't lose his career the first time Trump became president, and he's not going to lose it again. He's never going to lose his career because he's a perfect tool of the establishment. But I give credit where credit's due, and Bill Maher definitely takes credit for the fact of what he's about to say, defending Cheryl Hines against this useless idiot of Hollywood. Listen to this.
A couple of weeks ago, Bobby Kennedy, scion of the most storied dynasty in Democratic Party history, dropped out of the presidential race and threw his support not to the Democrat, but to Trump. And everyone all at once said the same thing. Bobby Kennedy did something weird? A Kennedy in league with a Republican? Why, that's like ordering white wine with Bear. Now, look, I like Bobby and all.
So, it's hard for me to give full credit to this and then see that as a setup. Like, he's trying to say that Bobby Kennedy is still weird, and he's even weirder to support the Republicans. Well, let's not forget that Bobby Kennedy, Robert Kennedy Jr., who was a lifelong Democrat and ran the Democratic Party, got sworn out, got kicked out of the Democratic ropes. They pushed him out of society because apparently he wasn't able to follow management's instructions and pander to their whims. Because RFK Jr. is, looking to worry about chronic illnesses. He wants to reform healthcare by looking into why people are getting sick, why we have an unhealthy population, things that should be concerning to people. He's looking into it, and that doesn't sit well with the Democratic establishment, brought to you by Big Pharma. And he got pushed out, sidelined. So, of course, you're going to go towards another party. And considering that Trump is at least willing to consult with Bobby Kennedy, is going to go along with it. He's going to go with the Republicans instead of the party that ousted him. That makes the most logical sense. Why is that weird? How is that weird? Is it any weirder than, the Epstein files? Is it any weirder than the shit that goes on every single day in politics? Is it any weirder than that? I love that's the new defense tactic. It's weird. Like, what are you, 3? Oh, they're weird. Well, how are they weird? I don't know. They're just weird. They don't act normal. Well, what is normal? I think people don't even know what normal is because we've just been lied to so much over and over and over again. We've just been told to go this way because that's where the establishment is flowing towards, that we don't even know what normal society is anymore. But now, here's where I can actually tip of the hat to Bill Maher for sticking his chin out a little bit for this.
Always will. And there are things he has been right about that no one else would touch. But yes, I also think he's weird. I couldn't support him for president. His wife is Cheryl Hines, who...
Of course you wouldn't. Of course Bill Maher wouldn't, because Bill Maher runs a show on HBO that no doubtably has advertisements for the big pharmaceuticals. I'm sure there's Viagra ads on this channel. I'm sure there's many Cialis and Viagra and all these, boner pills that they have to sell to this late night comedian that only entertains, the older crowd. Because that's who this really reflects on. That's the demographic that still watches programs like these. Not a lot of young people are interested in Bill Maher. Not a lot of young people are interested in these late night comics that just repeat the same garbage you can hear on any other cable outlets. They will rather go towards a podcaster. They rather go towards people like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and so many others that will actually have a real conversation, not just sound bites that are brought to you by marketing firms that work for the network.
Larry David was quoted as describing as the best person I've ever met, the one person in Hollywood who doesn't have a single enemy. Well, now she does. Because she didn't throw her husband under the bus when her husband made a decision about something which she's made plain she disagrees with, but that didn't satisfy the obnoxious posers on the aforementioned far left. Thousands tweet screamed at Cheryl things like, "How do you live with yourself? Do better. I can't even enjoy the episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm with you in them anymore. It's no wonder Larry divorced you." Yeah, that's a character on TV, but okay. The tweet that got the most attention was from actor Bradley Whitford, who wrote, "Hey, Cheryl Hines, way to stay silent while your lunatic husband throws his support behind the adjudicated rapist who brags about stripping women of their fundamental rights. Gutsy. Great example for the kids, profile and courage." Yeah, well...
I find that hilarious, to the fact that this guy would side with a confirmed rapist, Joe Biden, who the media silenced out the victims, Tara Reid, for example, out of the spotlight because it would hurt his chances of being elected. This guy would also vote for Bill Clinton after all the accusers came forward about all of his escapades. The fact that he had a fling with Monica Lewinsky, that the fact he went on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 24 times. But yet, I'm not comfortable with Trump raping. I'm not comfortable that the media told me to be uncomfortable about Trump apparently being accused of being a rapist. I'm not comfortable with that, but I am comfortable with people that are raping and silencing women out in the dark. I'm okay with that as long as they stick with my party. Like, what a useless tool this guy is. No wonder I don't know who Bradley Whitford is. Oh my God, even the name just sounds pretentious.
Well, you know what I think is not gutsy? Mansplaining to a woman, but of course not to her face. How she should sacrifice her marriage. Also, you could read something on Twitter that met with your approval. You want to know why I have a bug up my ass about the left more than I used to? It's shit like this. There's an ugliness they never used to have. The liberals I grew up respecting, none of them are like this.
I also want to add, because he did add in the fact that, which is a good point, that Cheryl Hines listening to her husband rather than this actor. And again, this goes back to the weird factor. Is that weird that you are going to support your loving husband that you've been together for how long and understand each other and understand why he's doing this? Like, they communicate every single day. They actually understand why RFK Jr. ran for president. She was the one that came forward to support him and go and with campaigns and go with you're oh God, how dare you listen to your husband of many years that you love and support, then some random actor who you barely seen in how many years? They maybe had like 2 or 3 parts, maybe had 1 or 3 or 4 lines to say, a dialogue to say to each other. How dare, that's so weird. How dare you support the person you love and not some rando actor that you barely know of? That's the cult. That's the cult. And Bill Maher explains perfectly that this is now what's encapsulating a lot of the, supposed left-wing liberal establishment Democrats in the Hollywood sphere, which makes me sick. Which makes me sick to be associated with that, because I'm not one of them. I'm not a liberal. I'm not part of this sinister cult to do this, bullying towards each other. It's just ridiculous.
Going after the wife, even the mafia doesn't do that. There's a lot of people these days who I call liberals in theory. In theory, they hate bullying. Terrible. In practice, their attitude is, it's not bullying when I stick your head in the toilet. In theory, liberals are compassionate. In practice, this guy can't even understand one of the most basic dilemmas common to all humans, that when you're married, sometimes you have to swallow some shit.
So, tip of the hat to Bill Maher for at least addressing this. Tip of the hat, kudos on him to actually stick his chin out to say that Cheryl Hines did no wrong and Bradley Whitford is just this crazed lunatic that you see every day in Hollywood. That's why I don't read celebrity tweets. That's why I don't really read their social media. That's why I try to avoid it, because it's aggravating. It's absolutely aggravating. And he makes a good point about the whole liberal theory that you think that these people would be, kind and courteous and respectful of people's differences. That's what they were told. That's the whole identity of being a liberal. That's what they've been telling themselves, that, we got to respect diversity. But when it comes to diversity of thought, when it comes to, actually criticizing, when it comes to actually being nice to others that don't represent their views, they're the complete opposite. They're everything that they're supposed to be fighting against. And that's when they get exposed. And that's when they're a bunch of lying hypocrites. Bradley Whitford is a goddamn hypocrite because he inflated himself in this bubble. He panders his ego to thinking that he's some saint and courteous person because he cares about, women's rights and, oh, I'm standing up to help equal rights of everyday people. But then you go and attack the wife, a fellow actress, one of the kindest, nicest, humble actresses in the industry, because the husband you disagree with. Even the mafia doesn't do that. Exactly. Exactly. But you know who does do that? The Hollywood mafia, the liberal theory mafia that they cultivate themselves into. That if you don't stay in the road and you don't attack the right people and you don't do the right things that they tell you to do, you're out of there. You're out of the cult. You're out of the rankings. I mean, look at what they did to people like Roseanne Barr, who has been an iconic comedian for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, this came about. She was trying to explain her tweets that got her fired, that they claim was racist. And she was trying to explain in detail. She wanted to come on to all the ABC shows and say that what happened and explain the reasoning for it. They wouldn't allow her. They would not allow her. And so many other figures, so many people that got fired off of television programs, fired off from comedy, fired off from, being an artist, which that's the whole point of being an artist, is that you go against the status quo. That's what makes art interesting. You go against the machine. You go against the norms. You go against all this. You challenge the status quo. That's what makes art interesting. It makes people think. But no, if you stick your hand in the sand and go down that same path, then you're not an artist. You're just complacent. And that's what Bradley Whitford is. He's a complacent douchebag of the Hollywood industry. And there's a reason why I have more, heart and sympathy and respect and tolerance for Cheryl Hines, who I know way more of than anything that Bradley Whitford's been in. Just saying his name just even sounds pretentious. Like Bradley Whitford, the humble Sussex of Sunset Boulevard. I don't know where he lives. Bradley Whitford the fourth. He needs his latte extra foamy. I shouldn't be railing him too much because I don't know who this guy is, and well, then again, he's not watching this program. But again, kudos to Bill Maher for at least sticking his chin out for this.